I'm so sorry to the Brewer family for the tragic accident that happened. I did not plan on I didn't wake up that morning and plan on an accident happening and somebody losing their life. I couldn't imagine what the Brewer family is going through with having to deal with this situation. I as well have to deal with this every day for the rest of my life and have the weight on my shoulders of knowing that a life was taken in an accident that I was involved in. I'm so sorry to the Brewer family for the tragic accident that happened. I did not plan on I didn't wake up that morning and plan on an accident happening and somebody losing their.
This isn't just another sentencing, folks. We've got a tragic car crash, a grieving family, and a judge juggling back-to-back death cases. But wait until you hear about the unusual evidence that takes center stage.
Shoulders of knowing that a life was taken in an accident that I was involved in. And again, I'm deeply sorry that this accident happened and a life was taken.
Thank you, Judge. And I just wanted to shed some more light on the facts of the case since defense counsel brought it up. My understanding is that the defendant in this case was aware that the vehicle had some mechanical issue and that it steered to the left a little bit. That was prior to him getting in that vehicle and driving on that night. And the victim in this case is Robert Brewer. It's not the defendant. And Mr. Brewer was an amazing person, not just to his family, as a son, as a friend, but to the community. He was a part of his church. He was an artist. He was many things. And unfortunately, his life was taken, and that was due to the actions by the defendant. And also, Judge, I believe there was a drug report in this case that the MST blood results showed that the defendant had drugs in his system.
He had consumed marijuana earlier in the day.
Correct. So I just wanted to paint the whole picture.
I stand corrected on that, Your Honor.
I understand. I read the reports. Mr. Barker, you're late.
I apologize, Your Honor. I got caught up on the call, and then I got behind a train.
Well, I'm glad the victims aren't showing. At least that's good. Randy Lee Shoemaker, 24B724247. So the victims sent a letter that I'm just going to read to you, and the victim's family, and then they provided a 10-minute video that I'm going to share on the screen. I'll read this. Mr. Barker, your appearance.
For the record, Your Honor, Stephen Barker, P3603, all on behalf of the defendant.
Mr. Shoemaker.
Randy Shoemaker.
I'm going to just go ahead and read this letter, and then we'll go from there. And their lawyer, I believe on a civil case, is going to be here. Hello, Judge McNally. This is Robert Brewer's father, Robert F. Brewer. I'm reaching out to you on behalf of my deceased son, Robert. Me and my wife, Carla Brewer, will not be attending the
Notice how detailed this letter is. It's not just grief, it's a prosecutorial narrative. The parents are laying out medical trauma, lost potential, and lifelong pain. They're pressing hard for accountability, maximum sentencing, and real closure.
25 at 9 a.m. 33rd District Court. Instead, my lawyer, Steve Matz, will sit in on the Zoom hearing on our behalf. The reason we will not be there is because of our distress and anguish regarding the death of our son. On August 6th of 23 at approximately 5:05 p.m., Robert was struck almost head-on by Randy L. Shoemaker. Randy was driving a Ford Expedition. Robert was driving a Chevrolet Spark. Randy Shoemaker told Officer Mott he was reaching for the radio when he crossed two lanes of traffic and struck Robert pretty much head-on, striking the front of the car A-pillar and driver door. Officer Mott told me they found Robert in the passenger seat unconscious with severe injuries. Robert had severe head trauma. His jaw was shattered. His arm was broken, and he had damage to his lungs. Robert was rushed to the hospital just barely alive. When Robert got to the hospital, the trauma team put him on life support. The next day, on August 7 of 23, Robert passed away from his severe injuries. Me and my wife did not know about the accident for 3 hours until Officer Mott came to the door around 8:25 p.m. and told us the horrible news that changed our lives forever. Your Honor, I don't know if you have any children, but if you do, I hope you never have to go through what we've went through. Our world is upside down. Robert was a Wayne State grad, graduated in 2019 with a bachelor's in graphic design. Robert was an artist. Robert was always drawing whenever he had any spare time. Robert worked at Disney for a year. He did graphic design for Metro City Church up until the accident. Robert bought the 2019 Spark because GM called him to work at the Warren, Michigan Design Center in the fall of 23. He was a wonderful young man and would have been a great contributor to our community. Randy took that all away because he was a distracted driver. If an individual kills another individual, there needs to be accountability, consequences, not just probation. Me and Robert's mother have a life sentence. Robert was our world, our only child. We'll never have grandkids because of Randy L. Shoemaker killing Robert. I ask you, Your Honor, please give Randy Shoemaker the maximum sentence so Robert can have justice, so we, Robert's mother and father, can have some kind of closure. Please, Judge McNally. Randy L. Shoemaker may do this again, please.
A victim impact video in court? That's rare. Typically, families give statements, not full productions. Do you think a highly produced video strengthens justice or risks turning tragedy into theater? Drop your thoughts in the comments.
Take them off the streets, and there's a picture of the victim here. So is Mr. Matz in here by chance, Lisa?
No, he's not.
Was he ever here today?
No, I haven't seen him.
Okay, so we're going to play this 10-minute video now, and I think that's appropriate given the fact that the parents expressed.
Wherever art goes, people soon follow. You see this all the time in movies, music, design. When art is effectively crafted and created, people follow wherever that art is leading them. And I think that in the church, when we collaborate and our teams are working together really well, what we're doing is just, composing stories to help people emotionally connect to the power of the gospel.
When you can see the depths of people, I think that when you come to...
Judge, I'm not sure that's it. Did you view it first?
No, that is it.
Oh, that's it. Okay. Just want to make sure.
And can we please turn up the volume a little bit?
You can
That's
see
okay.
where the art pours out of. There's ability to see people not just as skills, not just as resources,
Thank you.
but to see them as a bigger part of a community.
I was the leader, the director of the college ministry at Metro for about 4 or 5 years. And one of the people that I met, his name was Rob. After Robert accepted Jesus, a big movement inside of his heart was that he wanted to become involved with art and creativity. I think he realized that this art would be used to communicate the truths here that we share at Metro City Church. And because of that, he really took off. His skill set grew, his designs became more elaborate, more creative, more vibrant. Everything that he designed seemed like it was very intentional. It was sleek. It was effective in what he was trying to do, and that's communicate important truths. Robert became more than just someone who was on the team as a creative. He became one of my closest friends. When Robert was married, my whole family was in the wedding. My wife, me, even my kids were in the wedding. My brother was a photographer at his wedding. So Robert was more than just like a ministry partner. He was actually one of my good friends. So everyone goes through seasons of life, right? Like ups, downs. Sometimes you're closer to people, sometimes you're further away. Robert went through a major life transition. During that season, Robert went through a difficult experience.
He had hit what I know in his life was rock bottom. It was in that time that our community was just thrown together. And in that time, there were circumstances when he knew that he needed community. He experienced a lot of grace. We came around him in a way that he needed, but we didn't know that he needed. I think because of that, he saw God in a different light. He didn't see God as this overbearing, oh man, he's going to strike me down for every flaw I have and for every imperfect thing that I do. He started to see more that the way that we loved him is the way that Christ loves him. He went from a season of, I wouldn't even call it solitude, but I'd say a season of isolated darkness into a season of like communal light.
For the last few months, Robert had been with our team 2-3 days a week. You know, Robert was hanging out with us. He was having fun, attaching friendship with a mission. In fact, he did a graphic for one of our series. I literally have never received as much positive feedback from a graphic as when Robert made that graphic for our church. You know, it was very creative, it was very fun, and it was different. So I got a text from Robert on a Sunday. It was at just before 4 o'clock. The text was a still image of a sketch that he made for the series that we're currently in, Find Your People. Later that night, I got a call from a friend who told me that Robert was in an accident and it was pretty bad.
And there wasn't much news at that point. And there was a deep heaviness. I took, a call with my friend, and there were some words that just fly around. You hear brain dead, you hear procedures, you hear all these things that you're like, well, it's not dead. Like, that wasn't said. He wasn't declared anything yet. We get the news that we're able to go to the hospital, and that was hard.
Russell and I and another friend ended up going with his dad, and just before we walked in the room,
That testimony hits like a brick. You can feel the raw grief, friends recalling final moments by the hospital bed. Here, the impact goes beyond legal arguments, straight into the emotional core of why these hearings matter.
his dad said, "This is probably going to be the last time you guys see him." That was hard, you know? But even in that, you could feel God's presence in the room, you know? God was there with all of us. He was comforting us. Robert was at peace. And that was the last time I saw Robert.
He would always give us advice. Go make some friends. Even if you have to push a little bit, don't be annoying, but find your friends.
We started to think that, did this happen so that we could have friends? One of Robert's friends had come over, and we were talking to him about this, and he had said that, "I don't think God would orchestrate a terrible accident like this so that you could have friends. But what I do think is that God was working through Robert to prepare you for what was about to happen. And we have experienced it through this tragedy. We do need people because we couldn't get through it alone."
After Robert passed, seeing the volume of friends and the support, the outpour of support for us and him was just amazing, just amazing. I think we learned a lot about Robert through all of his friends. A side of Robert we've seen that we didn't particularly see, and they showed us, his friends showed us how much energy and love Robert had.
God has definitely walked through this with us. He's given us peace. Yeah, going through the grief share, I'm learning that what I'm going through and what I'm feeling is normal. Hearing from other people, whether it's their wife or their husband, just being there for them or them being there for us. I've actually sent out a text to a mother, and I told her that I'm here for you. Because all the support that we have gotten, I'm going to give back.
The one thing I take from this is how much I miss him. I am going to do everything I can to be with him one day. Be there for a friend in need. Be kind to one another. If somebody needs something, you help them. And I think that's what I've learned from Robert.
5 words you pronounce wrong 2 years before your brain starts shutting down. Dementia is now becoming a new...
Thanks, Lisa. You can shut that off. Mr. Barker, can you come up to the podium with your client? Have you had a chance to review the pre-sentence report? Are there any material additions, corrections, or deletions? And Mr. Mohammed, I believe you walked in later. Your appearance.
Good morning, Your Honor. Mohammed on behalf of the people.
All right.
No, Your Honor, we have reviewed the pre-sentence report. There are no additions, deletions, or corrections.
Anything and your name again, sir?
Randy Shoemaker.
Anything you would like to say on his behalf?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Shoemaker is a very nice young man, hardworking, supporting 3 kids. On the tragic day that this happened, he was driving his employer's vehicle. It was not even his vehicle.
His whose vehicle?
His employer's vehicle.
Okay.
And there was a mechanical issue with it, that it could pull to the left. And he did, unfortunately, what so many of us do during the course of driving around and everything. A lot of times we don't even realize we're doing it. He went to adjust the radio, and when he did that, it took his mind off holding that wheel steady, and the car pulled to the left, and the tragic accident is...
Now watch the defense pivot. They paint Randy as hardworking, guilt-ridden, and unlucky. But here's the twist. No ticket, no alcohol, no speeding. Just a radio adjustment. Should a momentary lapse carry life-shattering consequences? What do you think?
Vehicle, the driver in that car, unfortunately, was not wearing a seatbelt, and he lost his life. And as the film shows, it's a very good, nice young man. These were 2 good people under tragic, horrible circumstances. My client has borne the guilt of this every day from then till now. He thinks about it every day. He has nothing but empathy for the family, nothing but sorrow for what's happened. Unfortunately, none of us have any way of turning back time and changing those unfortunate circumstances so that everybody could come out of this with a happy ending. There is no happy ending. The consequence of this for himself, besides the fact that he deals with this emotion of guilt all the time, is that he drives for a living. He will not have a license for a year. That is going to impact his ability to maintain his home, take care of his children, and everything else. And we're not asking for the court to extend the sympathy to him, just reinforcing the tragedy of this for everybody involved. And our heart certainly goes out to his family. That film strip was very touching, and I'm sure it was a hard thing for him to sit there because so often these things happen, and unfortunately the driver that's of the vehicle, who's their lost driving driver, doesn't know anything about the person who lost their life, and doesn't realize the additional tragedy of who and what that person was. My client now has that to bear along with what the guilt he already felt about the thing and the sorrow he already felt about the thing. It's just that it was literally an accident. In terms of, moving violation, he wasn't drinking. There's no alcohol involved. There was no drugs involved. There was no speeding. There was just a momentary lapse. He was not even given a ticket for any kind of a moving violation, because it was a tragic accident.
Wait, I missed that last sentence.
I said, there was nothing, he wasn't even given a moving violation for the case. He was not given never received a ticket. He had shown up for all his court dates, and everything is expressed nothing but distress and concern for everything that's happened here. I asked the court to consider those things and to be as lenient with them as possible, because, as I say, but for the grace of God, there will I. This could happen. I mean, I know myself that, when I drive around, I try to be very attentive and everything else, but times with work and so on, my mind wanders, and that's all it takes for something like this to happen. But it is important to remember that this is a situation that was just marginally in his control. Obviously, he would never, ever have reached toward that radio if he had thought there was going to be any kind of consequence. But we don't think under those circumstances. It's just normal behavior with a tragic result.
And I just want to make sure, Lisa, there's not... There's not anybody for the family of Mr. Brewer out there, correct?
Mr. Matz did appear. I brought him in during the video.
Mr. Matz, I'm just going to offer you an opportunity. You can just tell me your name, and I'm just going to offer you an opportunity. I know they said that you were their representative, their lawyer, and you would be on Zoom. I just wanted to tell you we did play the video. If you didn't know that, I've read their letters, and if you wanted to say anything very, very briefly, I'm going to let you. Otherwise, I'll move on to the sentence.
Hey, please the court, Stephen Matz on behalf of Robert Brewer, P28082. The Brewer simply asked me to observe. I've been watching the hearing since 9:20 this morning, and I believe the Brewers have adequately conveyed their concerns to the court. I know the court will take those into consideration. I have nothing further to add.
Thank you. Sir, anything you would like to say?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm so sorry to the Brewer family for the tragic accident that happened. I didn't wake up that morning and plan on an accident happening and somebody losing their life. I couldn't imagine what the Brewer family is going through with having to deal with this situation. I as well have to deal with this every day for the rest of my life and have the weight on my shoulders of knowing that a life was taken in an accident that I was involved in. And again, I'm deeply sorry that this accident happened and a life was taken.
Thank you, Judge. And I just wanted to shed some more light on the facts of the case since defense counsel brought it up. My understanding is that the defendant in this case was aware that the vehicle had some mechanical issue and that it steered to the left a little bit. That was prior to him getting in that vehicle and driving on that night. And the victim in this case is Robert Brewer. It's not the defendant. And Mr. Brewer was an amazing person, not just to his family, as a son, as a friend, but to the community. He was a part of his church. He was an artist. He was many things. And unfortunately, his life was taken, and that was due to the actions by the defendant. And also, Judge, I believe there was a drug report in this case that the MSP blood results showed that the defendant had drugs in his system.
He had consumed marijuana earlier in the day.
Correct. So I just wanted to paint the full picture.
I stand corrected on that, Your Honor.
I understand. I read the reports. Anything else?
No, thank you.
Did I let everybody finish?
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Barker?
Yes, Your Honor. I mean, there was no indication that there was enough of a level there to
No, I know.
have affected anything. Again, it's just, such a sad, sad situation. And his remorse, I mean, I don't know, there was a time in the old days when people would wear sackcloth and put ashes on their head and so on to show their sorrow and we don't do that sort of thing anymore. But in his heart, he's wearing sackcloth and ashes, and could do anything he could to change the effect of that situation that day. We can't.
Anything else, sir?
Just, I'm deeply sorry that a life was taken in this situation. It was an accident, Your Honor. I didn't wake up and want to get into that.
Nobody thinks you did.
No.
Nobody
Just
thinks you
say,
did.
I'm deeply sorry to the Brewer family that their son was lost and a brother was lost. I'm not saying he wasn't, I mean, we're all human. We're all meant to be here. I mean, I know he was talented. I could see that from the video I saw. And I have to live with the fact that a life was lost in this situation. If the roles could have been reversed, I would have. I wish it was my life that was taken instead of his.
These are difficult for any judge. And I certainly find them difficult. We don't have any intent here. We have no intent here. No intent to kill. You'd have had other blemishes in your life. I mean, you had an MDOP out of this court 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, disturbed the peace in 18, impaired 12, A and B 11. But I want to tell you something, what troubles me the most here. I personally think they should have charged you with reckless driving causing death. And I'm going to tell you why. You knew. First of all, I'm not sure I'm buying the mechanical defect that's causing the vehicle to turn to the left. I mean, the accident reconstruction, they were not able to discern whether or not that was accurate. But even if it was accurate, you should have parked the car if it was going to cause the car to jerk across 3 lanes of travel and not driven it again until it was fixed. But I don't have any evidence that that was going on. You're playing with the radio. You're playing with a radio, and you drive clear across 3 lanes of travel. That's pretty hard to do. That's really hard to do. I have a feeling, but I can't prove this, and I'm not going to assume this. I have a feeling you were doing something else. I have no idea what. But if this travel...
This is where the judge unloads. He calls out reckless driving, dismisses the mechanical excuse, and practically says prosecutors undercharged. He's furious, saying crossing 3 lanes isn't just an accident. This is judicial frustration at full volume.
Across 3 lanes of travel isn't willful or wanton disregard for the safety of persons or property. I don't know what is. You don't have to be drunk. I'm going to assume that you had absolutely no effects from that marijuana. But you drove across 3 lanes. How could you not feel that unless you weren't paying attention to anything? And if you weren't, you should never get behind the wheel of a motor vehicle again. This isn't like somebody had a seizure and drove across a lane of travel, which this is pretty outrageous. And the prosecutor's office, at least in this judge's view, should have charged reckless driving causing death, which is a 15-year felony, instead of a 1-year misdemeanor on moving violation causing death. I can't condone this conduct. I mean, I want to look at it, look, if I knew you were taking aim at the guy and driving a car at him, that would be, frankly, murder too, and you'd be going to jail for years and years and years. I'm not saying that happened, but you're driving on dicks. I mean, that's a speed limit of You weren't driving in a subdivision dirt road going 15 miles an hour changing the radio. You were paying no attention. These cars, these vehicles, they're not a toy. We want to have fun, go over to Sportway and get on one of the go-karts. I don't know what to tell you. But I had an earlier one of these today, and this one's worse in my view. Worse. So that's bad news. Can't do this. I mean, I appreciate the fact that you're showing remorse. But it's a little too late. These are not easy cases, but I'm very comfortable with what I'm going to do here. No, you were here every time. No, you didn't abscond. But this is not right. 24 months probation. You cannot leave the state without the...
In the end, Randy gets probation, jail time, and a harsh lecture, but no felony conviction. The Brewers leave with loss, the judge with regret, and Randy with lifelong guilt. What's your take on this ruling? Drop a comment, hit like, and subscribe for more dramatic courtroom breakdowns.
Consent of the court or violate any law or ordinance. If you change your address, your place of employment, or home telephone number, you must notify the probation department. You're to report as directed. You're to attend the decision-based driving level 2 course at Class A Training Center. You're not to have any contact at all with the victim's family members. 100 fines, 100 costs, 75 victims' rights, $50 justice assessment. That's 3 1/4. Probation fees are $480 for 805. Screening fees $60 for 865. You're to serve 90 days jail, 75 days now, 15 days of community service in lieu of jail. I'll give you 15 days, that's 120 hours. You're to serve that by, I'm going to give you all the way to August the 1st. If you violate, your probation could be revoked. You could be incarcerated for an additional 275 days. You have 21 days to appeal, 14 days to apply for a court-appointed lawyer. Counsel, this is not your fault. You did nothing wrong here. Sometimes we can't save clients. This is one of those cases. I don't care what anybody thinks. This, when I read these reports, I thought it was more outrageous than I thought before. You cannot do this.
Your Honor, if I could ask the court, he could have some time.
I'm sorry. I've had too many guys not show up when I do. Listen,
I'll be here.
listen, I'm not going to let you do it. No,
I'm going to
no,
lose everything.
no, listen,
House that's
stop.
stuff I'm gonna
Do not argue with me. Do not